This is Ashley Garcia, and you are listening to a Teaching and Technology Series webinar. Before I introduce today's presenter, here's a brief orientation to the interface. We are using a system called Adobe Connect. Your browser right now is showing the title for today's webinar. Audio is set to mute. On the right-hand side of your screen, you will see a chat box where you can read and type messages. Using the controls at the bottom of the chat box, you can send messages to everyone or to a specific person. We will be monitoring the general chat area for questions and commands to our presenters. If you have technical problems, send that message to Ashley Garcia. If you have missed today's webinar or if you want to see some of it or all of it again, all Teaching and Technology live webinars are archived on the CRTE website, including both audio and video. Feel free to come back as often as you like. We also have a copy of our speaker slides linked from the CRTE webpage. And now for today's webinar, UCM Crops, featuring the Gradebook tool. Our presenter today.
Thanks, Ashley. Welcome, everyone. And so we'll go ahead and get started. So I brought a couple of questions that I thought we'd go over, which is indicating how do you think that Gradebook help instructors? And there's a couple of things. There's a lot of things that the Gradebook can help with for instructors, but the first one I thought is that the Gradebook tool is integrated with other tools in crops such as scores from tests and quizzes and assignments. It also allows you to create categories that organize items in the Gradebook and enables you to weight the grades. And then another question I thought you might be interested in is that what tools are available in Gradebook. And so a couple of the tools are that are available in Gradebook is the auto-calculate course grades and overriding courses as needed, and then the ability to work with grades for a specific section or group. So those are just a couple of things. The next slide will go and show you the list of the demonstrations that I'll be providing today. So the first one is the Gradebook setup. And its feature is, as I mentioned in the previous slide, is the ability to create categories and weight of different assignments. And then the assignment link to Gradebook, I won't actually provide a demonstration for this one. This is actually a webinar we had at the end of January, but I wanted to show you how this is integrated with Gradebook, so I listed it here as a feature. And so I'll briefly show you where how to work offline and how to release grades and so on, and how that works. And then I'll move on to demonstrating the import grades, which is similar to the assignment working offline. You'll have a feel for how that works as well, but the feature is if you created an item in the Gradebook tool, you have the option of grading it in a spreadsheet on your desktop and then importing the grades back into the Gradebook. And then the last demonstration would be course grades, where you could submit grades based on the automatic Gradebook feature or by manual overriding the grades. Okay, so so here is the outline for today's webinar, and I will be demonstrating the features that I just mentioned on the previous slide, and then we'll have plenty of time for a Q&A if you have any, and then I'll pass it back to Ashley. So what I'm going to do is I will Ashley, if you could move it to, I'm going to actually share my desktop. Okay, so here we're at the test course site, and we're going to, I'll go ahead and navigate to the course tools on the left-hand side and go to the Gradebook tool. And this brings us to the Gradebook homepage. And so this is the main menu bar, and this is where I'll be providing the demos, the features here, which is the course grade, the Gradebook setup, and then the import grades. But I'll just go ahead and give you a preview of the homepage. So these are all, this first area here is actually all the Gradebook items that were created within the Gradebook tool. And then each of the Gradebook items that are created in here has these headings here. available. And then down below is how it's mentioning how the gradebook is integrated with other crop tools. So these particular assignments are, this one, as it says, that they're from the assignments tool. And then these grades are generated from tests and surveys, and these last two were from discussions. So before I get to the import grades, I'll show you how the assignment is integrated, but I wanted to kind of give you an overview of what the gradebook homepage is going to be, what it looked like. So the first demonstration is the gradebook setup. And when I do that, it will also give a demonstration of how to add the gradebook item, which are, these are the gradebook items here. And then these are the categories, the ones in the bold. Okay, so I'll go ahead and click on Gradebook Setup. And there's just a few choices that we have to make. The grade entry, I'm going to go ahead and leave it on points, but you have the option of changing it to percentage. And then you have gradebook items display, and I'm going to leave it with display release gradebook items to the students. And when I go to assignments, I'll show you the link that's you can click on to release the gradebook all at once, versus, which is a best practice versus releasing grades individually. And then categories and weighting. And so I already have it set up with some categories and the weights for each of the categories. And so this is the main part where if you, it has a running total of 100%. So if you're going to add a category, either you're going to have to change the percentages to come up to 100, or you can remove one of them. So I'm going to go ahead and add a category, and I'll just call it Activity Project 1, and I'm going to go ahead and weight it as 10%. And so I'll just need to reduce 1 by 10%, or I'll change this to 15, and then I'll make the group project 15. And so then that puts it back to 100%. I'll go ahead and click on my Save Changes. And it gives you your confirmation. And so now when we go back to the Gradebook Items tool, you can see where I created that activity project 1, and then it gives you the weight that I assigned, which was the 10%. So now what we can do is we can actually add some gradebook items similar to this here by clicking on the Add Gradebook Item. And so you just need to assign a title, and I'll call it Activity Part 1. I'll give it a 25-point value. And I'll select, let's say, April 13th as the due date. And here is where you're going to select a category, and I'm going to put it under the category I just created, Activity Project 1. I do want it released, this item, to the students, and I want it to include this item in the course grade. And if you had some more assignments that you wanted underneath this particular category, you would go ahead and click that, but that's enough for now. So we'll just add the items. And again, it tells you that it was successful. And then you can see your activity here that I just, or the assignment here. And if you needed to make some adjustments, you can go ahead and do that. So that actually completes the demonstration for the gradebook setup. So I'll move on to the next one. So I just refreshed the screen, and I'm going to, before I go to the importing grades, I wanted to show you how it's integrated with the other tools. And in this particular case, I'll show you how it's integrated with assignments. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to assignments, and I'll select assignment 2. We have some grades there. And here's assignment 2, and we have Mike has a current score of 90, and I'll go ahead and click on that. And so that just shows you the grades that he had here was for assignment 2. And then what I'll go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead, and that's how it's linked there. And scroll down to assignment 2. Oh, and I'll go to the assignments. And then we're going to go to assignment 2 and go to the grade. And then I will go ahead and go to Mike's and see how this is where it says the release grades and so on. And as I mentioned before, the download all this is the offline ability for the assignment. And then you would just go to upload, and then you can release grades. And then once you release grades, it would go to the check mark. And there are some steps that go from downloading to upload, and that would be where you would go ahead and listen to the webinar to get those steps there that we had featured on the end of January webinar. And so I'm going to go ahead and change Mike's grade so you can see how it's connected to the gradebook. So it's currently 90, and I'm going to go ahead and change it to 100. And I'll go ahead and save and release to the student. And again, in this assignments, it also gives you a confirmation. Now, when I go back to the gradebook, it should go ahead and show under assignment 2. And when we look at Mike's grade, it's now 100. So that's how I was mentioning it's integrated with the different tools within crops. So now I'm going to go ahead and I will show you how the import grade works, similar to the assignment where we could work offline. So this will be the actual demonstration for importing grades within the gradebook tool. So I'll go ahead and click on import grades. And there's only 3 steps here in order to import grades. And here, so the first one would be you would download a spreadsheet. And I'm not going to actually download the spreadsheet. I already have one. But the step would be you would download the spreadsheet. And what it does, it generates the student's name and all of the different assignments that are inside the gradebook. And then you would edit that spreadsheet with the grades that you want to assign. And then you would save it as a CSV or a .xls file. And then once that's completed, you would go ahead and import the spreadsheet. And so what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and go to that file that I have already saved. So this would be the version as if I had downloaded a template. And so as you can see that it has the student names and the 3 students that we have. And then these are all the assignments that are generated in on Gradebook, and also the other ones that are come from the different tools, the assignment tools and the discussions and the tests and surveys. And then I just wanted to point out that you have to change the grades within each of the tools. You can't change the only ones you can change when you're importing the grades in the Gradebook tools are the ones that were created in Gradebook. And so we'll see an error message, and it'll make more sense when we go back to the gradebook after we import grades. So it's not really an error message, it's a warning or a reminder. So for the gradebook items that we created within the gradebook tool, I'm going to go ahead and change it for homework 1, and we'll make a note that it was 20, and I'm going to change it to 10, or let's just say 5. And then for attendance, I'll use attendance 2, and I'll change it to say 10. Okay, so these are the edits that I wanted to make for the gradebooks, and you would do that for each of the gradebook items. So go ahead and save it, and you just respond to we want to keep this here. And then I'm going to go ahead and close out of it and respond again. Yes, that we want to do that. And I'm just going to replace that file, and it is a CSV file. And yes, I want to replace it. And then the last yes. So now when I go back to the Gradebook tool, so I went through, that would have been downloading the spreadsheet, which I showed you, then I made the edits, and now we're going to import the spreadsheet. I'm going to navigate to where the file is located, select it, click on open, and then again it populates here, and then as you can see it's a .csv. And then go ahead and click on continue. And so then it populates here inside this area here, and then we're going to go ahead and click on import spreadsheet. So what that does, it comes to this screen, and it wants you to verify the grade import. And so it has 20 gradebook items and the 3 students. And so you can take a look at the changes that were made. And so I had changed the attendance to 10, 10, 5. And then there was the homework one that I had changed. So if you notice that there are that something is not correct, you can go ahead and hit back and then you make changes to your file and import it again. And that actually tells you that instruction there. But this is fine. So I'll go ahead and click OK. So it says that your spreadsheet was imported successfully, and as I mentioned, it also is telling us as a warning, as a reminder that anything that was created outside of the gradebook items, you'll have to change it directly because when I made that change, Mike's assignment put it back to 100. It's just telling you that it's not being included. So we knew that. I had mentioned that earlier, and we're okay with that. So that's how you would import the grades, and you could do that if you had throughout the semester or however you're going to keep your grades up to date. So that actually completes the demonstration for importing grades. So I'm just going to refresh the screen. And then the last one is the course grades. So in course grades, there's just really just 2 different features that we could that this has as far as options and so on. One is the automatic feature, which is what it does. It has an automatic takes all the grades from the different areas and it gives you this grade here. And the thing with that is that if you're not using assignments or some of the other where if you put a check mark that said this was not part of the course grade, then these may not be the accurate grade, and it actually tells you this heading up here. And so just keep that in mind. And so it has what you'll do is that we're going to actually demonstrate the manual override. And so these are the automatic feature that I had mentioned, and you have the opportunity to override mid-semester grades or the actual final grades. So for these 3 students here, and it's all of us, we just have this test students here. So originally it was a C+, and I'll go ahead and change that. Everybody's going to get an A. And then all you have to do then is click on Save Changes. And it tells you that confirmation that your grade overrides were saved. So this would be the final grade. And then just another feature that I wanted to point out is that it actually has a log of what was done for each of your students. So if you weren't sure originally what you had in the past or how that is, if you kind of click on these, the log button, it will show you what different changes were made to the student's grade. So that's kind of a nice feature as well. So that actually completes the 3 demonstrations that I wanted to provide a demonstration for. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to our slide set. And see if there's any questions. And so I don't see any questions, so I'll go ahead and pass it back to Ashley.
Thanks, Deborah. As a reminder, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box located on the left-hand side of your screen. Given that there are no questions, we'll move on. If you're watching this as a recorded session, you can email your questions to Deborah Meanley or Mike Trong. This is our last UCM Crop 2012 webinar for this semester. However, there will be another webinar on April the 18th at 11:30 to 12 p.m. and this will be featuring web conferencing tools. If you need any help in utilizing UCM crops, there's a resource page. There's also a helpful link attached, and you can schedule consultations with Deborah Meanley or Mike Chong. We'd also love to get your feedback on today's webinar. The evaluation is anonymous, but your input is invaluable. I am going to now push out the webinar. Please take a few minutes to complete this. and thank you for attending.